We're ready.
Oh,
Oh,
good
we're
morning.
ready.
I thought you were going to roll the bread. Good morning, everyone. This is Biz Chicks TV. This is a place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today is Tuesday, so you know we're here with Terry Johnson online all the way from New York City. I want to give a shout out to my partner, Miss Francine Gregory, real estate entrepreneur and tech diva. She is out streaming for a number of entities today, so we
Yeah,
wish
we
her
miss
much
her.
success. Yes, And I'm Terralina from California Cover Ups, and we're the Biz Chicks. So we want to thank everybody who's watching live and online. We ask you to sit back, relax. We're getting ready to talk about how to handle your brand. All right now. So with that, we're gonna get this party started. How you doing this morning, Terry?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous.
Good. We were talking about earlier in the green room, we were talking about New York being open phase 2 and how New York City is open, but the activity I saw downtown with the bars and the restaurants, I'm like, it's a no for me
That's
because
a no for that's a no for me.
because we're still in the midst of the pandemic. So why would I want to go? And they're
Expose
all hanging
yourself.
out together downtown in each other's faces without masks right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, masks are mandatory here.
they're mandatory here, but they're not. If you go in a grocery store, you have to wear it. Of course, if you go into a pharmacy, whatever, they're mandatory. But I'm saying downtown area where everybody hangs out, bars and restaurants and things.
Hey,
They're
Donna.
like, and these are the young people. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh
Okay.
well, moving on.
I think, oh my gosh. Okay.
Hey
Moving
Donna.
on.
Hey Donna. Scary, right? Yes,
Yeah.
it is scary. It's scary. It is
Well,
scary. So, but everybody knows what's going on, so we're not going to rehash that. But I want to say welcome to today's discussion because I never say show. This is a discussion where we're talking about digital marketing topics. That's content marketing, that's social media marketing, email marketing,
mhm.
your website SEO, and branding. So today's topic is going to be a little bit about branding and what's happening in the news. You've all heard what's going on, so we're going to discuss I'm going to say epic changes with some
I love it.
brands and what's going on with branding and what does that have to do with you as your business owner, small business, you on an online Shopify, whatever. Branding. That's why I got the title. If you see it down there, it says your brand is you. Your brand is you. You don't think it's you, but it is. It's you.
Mhm.
So there's some important things I want to point out and let you know some things that you should keep in mind when you're working on your brand, and you should have a personal brand also. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But before we do that, I want to ask you to invite others to the discussion, to the chat, so we can have a lively discussion. We always have these wonderful questions, and everybody has all these great thoughts and opinions. So guess what? Add more to the conversation. You know how to invite people where you are, whatever platform you're on. So we're everywhere. That's why I call myself online. So we're there. So invite others and to the replay gang. Thank you for watching. We love that you watch the replay, and we invite you also to join the discussion by
Mhm.
typing in your thoughts, your questions, or whatever in the chat because it's still open after the live is over. Okay, so thank you very much for that. I saw you had Donna had a question. Are they not mandatory in the bars? Okay, we'll talk about that for a little bit. They're not inside the bar, they're on the street. So our thing here isn't that our Governor Cuomo isn't a law per se where people get arrested. Is you must wear a mask. If you can't social distance, you
Mhm.
should social distance. Okay, so then we have the issue of the unrest and the protests are going on, and somehow the police departments all over the country are going, well, That's not something we concerned about because they're mad for what's going on. That is a rabbit hole we're not going down. But
Please
here
don't
in
go
New
down a
York,
rabbit
they're
hole.
not looking at quality of life. That's a quality of life issue, Donna. So they're not rushing down there to tell people to put on their mask. So we're all adults now. So you should know that that from what I read, I'm not a scientist. I'm just saying that it's spread from close to close contact with speaking because that's how it moves from one host to the other. I'm calling everybody a host because to a virus, we're a host.
Mm-hmm.
That's with a cold, that's with the flu, anything, we're a host, our body. So the virus is just trying to get from one host to the other. And how do they do that? Respiratory, which means talking, which means when you talk, you spit and it flies and it jumps from person to person. So this is basic science that you learn in the 5th grade, I'm thinking. So we're talking grown-ups who don't care. That's pretty much
Hey,
how
Jerry. Hi, Jerry.
So when I go out, I wear a mask. It's uncomfortable, but I wear it because I want to protect the ones that I love. So those that don't want to do that, what
Yeah.
can you do?
Yeah, we're not here to tell you or to take a stand on whether or not you should or shouldn't wear a mask. We're just telling you what we do.
Right. And see, you can't make everybody. You've seen the videos where people are fighting, and there was one Walmart employee was trying to stop the man,
and he turned
in
it into a
Florida.
whole drama. Yeah.
And it's state by state, district by district, village by village, township by township, wherever you live. There's not one mandatory law because we don't have any grown person running the country. So
Yeah,
it's pretty much a wild, wild west.
Unconfusing leadership.
Yeah, it's that simple, Donna, but you know,
no, we thought it was simple too. However,
it has to be enforced. Okay, so we are moving on because we can talk about that forever, but I'm not. I want to talk about branding, and I know that you know, or if you didn't know, the brand Aunt Jemima or Aunt Jemima, however you want to say it, has fallen after 130, I think 133 years of being a brand of selling pancake mix and syrup with a mammy-like figure on the label. Okay, they did make some changes a couple years ago to take off her kerchief or her bandana, and they gave her pearls and made her look like a housekeeper. But
a housekeeper.
it was still based on racist mammy figures, and we've talked in our community, we've talked about this for years. There's been TV shows. I was watching A Different World the other day, and there was the one about they had the mammy figurines, and one student didn't like it, and the other one was like, we gotta face it, blah blah blah. So we having these conversations. We've asked them and other brands to change the labeling because it's hurtful to those who are descendant of slaves. Okay, even though it's slavery's been over so 160 150 whatever 200 years, there are still problematic brand representations that are floating around that everybody was cool with.
And this is a global issue because some of the icons coming down in London.
Yeah, and see, this is the wave. It's coming down everywhere. And I want to point out, because I love talking about this generation. Generation Z is, you want to thank somebody? Thank them. They started this on Twitter, the conversation. But like I said, we've already had the conversation, in churches and here and there in our family. And why don't they change it? I wish they would change it. Well, Gen Z said, well, we're here. We have our phone. This is how we communicate. This is our tool of choice. So, and all it takes is one tweet, and all of these things. It only takes one person. Hey, Pat. Hey. And Brenna.
Hey, Brenna.
Good morning. Hello. So, I want to thank them. And I know they get misaligned a lot. Gen Z and millennials don't do this and that and whatever. I'm here to tell you that they are here to mobilize using their devices, and they're not standing. Not that we stood back. It's just their voice is more amplified because they use digital technology. Use technology to mobilize to get together. That's why these protests are so massive, and people are like, well, how did they do it? I was like, they got a phone, silly. They go on Twitter and they say something. They go in a group. They make a group. They go to Snapchat and they say, "Hey, we're going to do this and this and this at whatever time. Let everybody know." So there, while the older crowd is sitting around and going, "Well, whatever." During this pandemic, they've been chit chatting and getting together using their devices. Now, here's another thing that they did over the weekend. The current administration decided to have a rally. I wanted to call it something else, but a rally.
Campaign rally.
To mobilize the base, right? So they were so proud, and they were talking for weeks about, we got 1 million signups because you had to sign up to get the free tickets. Correct. Well, lo and behold, here we go. Gen Z and another group called the K-pop stands. So Gen Z and the K-pop stands, they call themselves stands. They're super fans. So they got together, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, this is what they do. They decided to troll, which is kind of like, we're going to poke fun at you, but we're going to pretend to be with you, but we're not. So they went and signed up for all of the free tickets in this venue that held 1,900 people. So they had this administration had this flood of registrations for the free tickets, and they were so happy going on TV. Oh, it's going to be massive. Millions of people will be there. So the rally was held on this past Saturday, and 6,000 people showed up. So you can go online. There's pictures of empty seats. They thought there was going to be an overflow crowd outside. Yes. Was empty. Echo. Nobody was there. So they got egg on their faces. This current administration is in the dumps or feeling bad or whatever, because he wants to look like the dictator over in North Korea. He wants to be like that guy. Look at me, and the people love me, when it's not true, because that's not a democratic country, and we are. So we all have our own things that we care about. So I just wanted to bring that up because Gen Z mobilized K-pop stands, and K-pop stands are a group. What's the name of the group? Forgot. It's some group from Korea. BTS. BTS is this big Korean pop group that all, if you ask a teenager or Gen Z, they love. But they get together and they do things as a community. So we talked a lot here about community. So you see the power of a community. So Gen Z is actually a community. I mean, it's a big one, but there are, sub-community, sub-fractions, and, they have their own little interests. But they got together and said, hey, let's do this fun thing. Just because it was fun to them. They weren't going, they're not Antifa or mobilized or, this. They get together and do things that they think, okay, this is going to make somebody unhappy or whatever. And in this case, it was for positive a result. So I just want to say, Gen Z is great. You may not understand them, but just realize that they have an agenda that's their own, and they use technology to mobilize. So I just want to keep that in mind. All right, let me see. Pat says, LOL, Facebook Insta captioning thoughts. You said Jay-Z. Oh, I forgot that thing is on. Oh, on Facebook. Donna says, call it something else, please. Call the rally? Let me know. Donna says, changing things. Gen Z, they got tickets for the rally that didn't pan out. LOL. Yeah, they were just signing up. They were never going to show up. And
I had no idea about this until I talked to someone yesterday who said that they had ordered some tickets and it didn't pan out. Okay.
So, and then Donna says, also TikTok. They also mobilized. So it was Twitter, TikTok, and the K-pop stands. And I know all of these buzzwords because I'm on Twitter all the time. Pat says hilarious. Brenda says psych. Yeah, got you. So the current administration wasn't too happy. Pat says BTS is only one of many K-pop groups. Stans can refer to fans of Shine, Shinee, VIX, or any of the other K-pop groups. Yes, you're right, Pat. I only know BTS off the hand because I mean I don't follow that kind of music, but I know of them because of TikTok and Twitter. So if you're on social media and you do a little digging, you'll see this is what kind of music some of the kids, well, I shouldn't call them kids, Gen Z is listening to. So I just wanted to say that everything that we're seeing, the changes in brands and this disruption to the rally, this is all because of Gen Z deciding to get together. And I mean, they're already talking on the phone. They're on all the time. Like my daughter, she does not watch TV at all. She doesn't watch. She watched YouTube. I don't think she's on TikTok, but she's YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. So that's their focus, and they're using it.
Okay, Donna.
Oh, okay, Donna. Thanks. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. And the thing about the Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben's, Cream of Wheat, there's another one that's changing.
Eskimo pies.
Yes, Eskimo pie. That's recent. Here in New York, the I think not the Metropolitan Museum, the Museum of Natural History is taking down the statue of Theodore Roosevelt because it's problematic. He's on a horse and he has does he have a slave on one side or?
I don't even know.
I know he has an indigenous person that's Native American indigenous, and he has someone like I'm not sure who the other person is, but it's problematic. So they're taking the statue down. What I'm trying to say is that your brand is you, what you put forward. So Quaker Oats, which is owned by PepsiCo, has this brand for years, and they knew the Aunt Jemima brand was problematic. That's why they made the changes a few years ago.
We've been asking them.
Right, they took away her bandana. They knew they had a problem because people were writing in and complaining. Well, we don't. That is 90s thinking of writing. I mean, you can still write the brands, but you have to do what Gen Z did. They got on Twitter. I'm telling you, this thing, it turned on a dime. I was looking at Twitter the night before it happened, and Aunt Jemima was trending. I'm like, what is going on? So they were having a conversation. It was getting louder. It was trending. Somebody quick thinking at Quaker or PepsiCo decided, wait a minute. We've known about this problem with this brand. Let's do something like right away, because that's how it goes now. I mean, you see how all changes are going around really fast. Statues are coming down, brands are coming down. Things that people took for granted before or did not pay attention to as problematic they're waking up and going, this is problematic. We got to change it. So it's for a good thing. Pat says Theodore Roosevelt. Yes, they're taking that statue down. And I'm saying this to say expect more.
Yes. Now I want to say that over in England, they're taking down statues of Churchill. Winston Churchill.
What did he do?
Stuff associated with him, and then they're taking down statues of Rhodes, because Rhodes was a slave merchant.
Yes.
And did all of that colonialization over in Africa. You know, so these things are very deep and their money runs deep. And so the effects are still ongoing, and people who benefited from that don't see it as a problem because, of course, they took that money that they were overflowing with and did philanthropic things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
From which they benefited. So there's a lot of stuff being pulled down around the globe.
It's global.
They're not standing. They pulled some stuff down in Germany. I was like, what?
Everywhere. I mean, it's happening. It's like the wave, you know, and when they're at the games and stuff, they do the wave. They don't do it anymore. I don't know if they do. But that was like, you know, one section got up and sat down, and then the motion went to the next. So it's like waves.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is with Churchill, but yeah, they were on it.
I was like, well, I don't understand the issue with Churchill.
He's always been touted to me as a hero. You know what I mean?
Churchill was their prime minister, the one that got them successfully out of World War II. So I don't understand the problem with him. I mean, if they want to start over there, there's a whole bunch of stuff we can start with England.
That's true. We don't know where his money came from.
Well, that's true. That's true. That could be it.
You know
I'm
what I
gonna look
mean?
that up because I'm thinking I didn't know Churchill was problematic, but
I didn't
that's
either.
something to look into.
But
So
then I don't know a lot about British history. So I'm
me
like,
neither.
oh my God.
I know some, but not a lot. So I'm gonna look into that. Um,
Mhm.
so brands are falling, but what does that have to do with us? Like I said, your brand is you. So all of these brands, 100 years or 5 years or whatever, the things that they're doing have done online and offline, selling their products and services, they never gave it a thought as to reflecting on that.
Mhm.
But Gen Z is holding the mirror up to their faces saying, wait a minute, Andrew, this is you. You did this. So Quaker's like, well, that's not really us. We're not associated with that kind of history, but you are because you bought the company where the woman started being the face of selling pancakes because it was another company called Mills Company or something, and it was an actual woman, Aunt Jemima, that was called that. I forgot her real name. It's online, and she would go around making pancakes to sell the pancake mix and the syrup and everything. And PepsiCo bought that company, not caring about the history of it because they were making money.
Or the complaints about the imagery. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, they could have changed this long time ago, not 130
and
years. I
we've
mean,
given them a number of formal requests, I'm sure, through the NAACP,
yes,
through
that's what I'm saying. We had
Urban
the
League.
conversation in our community, the NAACP, other organizations have asked people, have just regular citizens have written into the company and said, why is this imagery still on the box? It's 1980, 1990, whatever year. It's being talked about. But what I'm saying is why it's changing now is because Gen Z mobilized with their technology. The complaint is Gen Z is always on the phone. Millennials are always doing, they don't do anything offline. Well, you got to thank them for that because they're the ones that got this thing happening where all of these brands have to go, oh, now the thing with Uncle Ben, it was like, what did I read it about? Was he a cook or something?
Mm.
I forgot what it was, but they were trying to explain it as it wasn't slavery
Hold on, my
imagery.
phone started talking.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
No,
I'm
there.
trying to get
I
it to
forgot
stop.
what company owns Uncle Ben. I know it. I can't remember right now, but they were saying that their imagery of Uncle Ben, he wasn't someone from slavery. He was a fisher, not a
Well,
fisherman.
here's the
Something
thing.
they were saying.
Let me say this about that. There's some things I know. I know that according to the black codes,
Mm-hmm.
you could not marry. So therefore, black men and women were referred to as auntie this and uncle that versus
Right,
Mr. and Mrs. So
right.
just the fact that you called him Uncle Ben,
That's the problem. And yes, that was the issue. But see, we
is
saw
an
it that
insult.
way. We saw it that way. But Mars Inc., Mars is the company that owns Uncle Ben's. They didn't
Uh-huh.
see it that way. They were saying that it was based off of, I forgot who. They were trying to say it wasn't based off slavery, but your explanation is correct. That when you say auntie and uncle, that's why the aunt your mama, the uncle, because back then,
We weren't allowed to be
right,
considered
we weren't
married.
allowed to be people
Yeah,
fully.
exactly.
So we were aunt, uncle, and they would call any black man uncle or any
Mhm.
white or black woman aunt.
Auntie.
They
Auntie.
auntie because they didn't
Mhm.
want to know them as real persons. That's the real deal. So for them to say, I was trying to figure I was trying to figure out what they said Uncle Ben, who he was, and he was some person. I'm like, really?
And so what?
It was just so offhand. I
You know
wanted
what I
to
mean?
see.
Uh,
Oh, I read it
Oh,
somewhere.
so you just wanted to poof it off. Now I want you to know, and I'm going to talk to Brenda because Brenda's in here.
Yes.
She has put up something here with a link.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Oh, I think she's talking about Winston Churchill.
Okay, that would be good to know. Yeah, because I watch the British news because I want to know about news from what the rest of the world is saying about us.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
know?
a different perspective.
And that's where I saw it, where they were tearing down these different statues in England. But what I want to say to Brenna and those of you in California is that I saw in the local news that they are thinking about they're thinking about it. I don't know why they have to think about renaming Squaw Valley, because squaw is a negative term in the Native American community. It has negative connotations. And so now they're going to think about it, Brenna. Are you ready for that? Okay.
Okay, so I found what I wanted about Uncle Ben. So there was, so the company is saying that that, well, this is what it really is, that it was based off of a Chicago maitre d' named Frank Brown, but then Mars, the company, is saying that Uncle Ben's was an African American rice grower known for the quality of his rice. But get this, so in 2007, Mars changed the image of him being chairman of the board of the rice. But that's what I'm saying. I was reading this and going, are you kidding me? So the Uncle Ben's, he was a rice grower? No, it was based off of a maitre d', because they wore the white, they wear the white jacket. They wore the white jackets. I don't think they do it anymore. They were all African American, and they would serve, So that's where they got, and like Terralina said, they put the uncle. Why can't they just call it Ben? No, they put the uncle on it because, like I said, every black man that they served them, a porter, a maitre d', a shoe shop, they called them uncle because they didn't care to learn the person's name and treat them as human. Because when you objectify something, you take away the humanness or the humanity of that person by calling them an object or a catch-all phrase. So that is really the root of why we were upset all of these years. The thing with Aunt Jemima, I saw on the Today Show, B. Smith's husband, she's passed on, but she was a model restaurateur, that he said that he contacted them, PepsiCo, in the 90s to tell them to change, about the Aunt Jemima branding. And he said, now I don't know how true, but I'm quoting what I heard him on say. He said that PepsiCo told him they would never change the branding of the woman.
I believe it.
Woman, Aunt Jemima. Okay. So take that as you will. They weren't going to change it until Gen Z arrived with their phone and was like, we're going to change this. For whatever reason, I don't get into the reasoning of why they do things. I'm just glad that they're doing things.
I am too.
For positivity.
I think the problem is that, before, if you got fan mail or you got mail saying we'd like this change, you could just put it in a pile and forget about it. But now if you get mail, everybody gets to see it.
Right.
Everybody can read your mail now.
Yeah. So Brenna says they never wanted to change it with all past requests. To me, they're just trying to save their business. It's not integrity driven just for dollars. Exactly right. They're doing it because it's popular. They're doing it to save face. They're just joining the bandwagon.
Well, it's business. I mean, if we stop skiing, and we do have large black ski clubs, okay, and large clubs of ethnic groups.
Yes.
That's money.
Yes. So I want to say, I'm not taking the side of PepsiCo, Quaker Oats, Uncle Ben, but they were all about money because the business is about profit and loss and making money. Exactly. But when you have a tidal wave of dissension and unhappiness being communicated to you from your audience, from your customers, you need to pay attention to that. That's why I want to bring it up, saying your brand is you. So PepsiCo, that brand that you have for 130 years and you didn't want to change because it made you money, that tells us who you are. And a company can be something because they stand for something. That's the whole idea of branding. It's what you stand for.
It's what I think about when I see your brand.
Yes, they make the imagery by the advertising and the marketing. So they create a brand. A brand is human. A brand is energy and thoughts, because we, the customer, look at all the imagery and advertising that they present to us, and we react to it because we're human.
Yes.
That's why you see, okay, with I'll bring up toilet paper. You see all kind of little cute little characters. Remember the Snuggle? There was and the fabric softener, the little Snuggle bunny, the little Snuggle teddy bear, and he was like, oh, he's so cute. That's to invoke emotion in you through advertising and marketing. It's very manipulative. Trust me, I've been on the other side of it and seen the creation of it and the thought process of the people making the advertising and the marketing.
Well, let me say this.
From corporate side.
Branding is designed to invoke an emotion, a feeling, a reaction. Hopefully when you see someone's brand, they want you to think that you love it and you want to be a part of it. And that's why a lot of times when they're talking about be a part of the such and such a family, I'm like, really? Y'all know you ain't got slaves in the family. And I think that's why, there's a disconnect for us about a lot of this family talk. You're
exactly.
part of,
the brand is what, and the brand we talked about branding here a couple of times, and I've told you that branding is not your logo, colors, your tagline, or all of that is just things that you give.
It's the decoration on the Christmas tree.
Decoration to get it's the things you use to make advertising and marketing. Just things like you have to have a certain color to make it, even across the board. But when I'm saying branding is really the emotion that you're creating from your business that you want others to feel. So that is a form of manipulation, psychology. Okay, that's really what it is. So you have to think about, well, when you're a brand, what do you say online and offline? Who are you? What do you want to stand for? What do you want your brand to say for you when you're not in the room? This messaging. And how do you want your customers to view your brand? See, that's the manipulation part. Now, I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm just saying psychologically, there are things that you do and say, well, I want my brand to be associated, like I said, with the fabric softener. Snuggle was like associated with snuggling and a cute bear, and a bear talked in a cute voice.
Like a teddy bear type.
Right. So if they wanted to use the imagery of a bear, they wouldn't use a big brown grizzly bear because that's not cuddly. So they decided they wanted their thing to be cuddly. Or with the toilet paper, there's the ones with the cartoon bears. They didn't use real bears because those aren't cuddly. Those are scary. So see how imagery plays a part in your branding. So those are things that they think about. And in the case of these large corporate brands, they were making lots and lots of money. So they wanted to protect their shareholders. They wanted to protect the bottom line. The group of people calling for change in their mind was minuscule. So they didn't care. But here comes Gen Z riding up on the horse going, oh, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, we're on it. Those are the tools that they use. But every generation has tools that they use to say, hey, we're here and we don't like what's going on. So in the 60s, it was music. Right? It was mostly music was the communication tool.
And it was marches and it was protests.
And marching and protesting, because back then they didn't have social media. So everybody didn't have a platform to give their opinion like they do now. So that's what this group, Gen Z, realizes. That's why I talk about them all the time, because they affect the change that happens to us.
And they are wielding the tool well. They're using the tool for good.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, because I told you, social media, think of it as a screwdriver. A screwdriver is good in the hands of someone who wants to do something to build a house, or like Habitat for Humanity. They use screwdrivers. Or a person who has ill intent or ill will and wants to harm someone, a screwdriver is a weapon. But you can't blame the screwdriver. It's the person holding it. Same thing with social media. It's the person that's saying the thing, putting the message out there, putting the post, trolling, hate speech, all of that. It's the person. So I say this because I see a lot online of social media is bad. No, it's the people. The people. So
Mhm.
we're holding a mirror up to society saying, "Oh, we didn't have this smartphone before, so it was hidden, but it was already there." Like I always like to say, you sweep it under the rug and it grows into this big pile, this big
Mhm.
lump, and then you trip over and hurt yourself. That's what it is. So Gen Z is coming, pulling it back, making these brands change the way that they operate because they think they're separate from the brand, but it's you. That's how we see it. Your customers see everything that you put out. That's you. And
Mhm.
I'm not even talking about a personal brand like your name. Like mine is Terry Johnson Online, but you may have your business or brand that's called, a name, something else, but it's still you because there's a person behind that. A company is run by people. So that's what I want you to look at is like the people in your audience, the customers you have. When you have communication with them and
Mhm.
you see that there's a problem, because they'll let you know. You didn't think we let PepsiCo know we had a problem? We let Uncle Ben know. They've been writing for years, writing, emailing, everything. So if you
Mhm.
pay attention, oh, if
I'm
you,
sorry. I pulled up the video over there
oh,
on,
I was like, I hear myself.
on Twitter.
I do that too. I forget to turn the
How,
volume
how
down.
to make a non-racist breakfast. The
Oh yes, that I put the did I put the link last?
I don't know, but
I don't know.
I have it here.
So
I can put it here.
you have so I'm saying this because you have to pay attention to what your audience is telling you, good or bad. You can't
Mhm.
ignore the bad. So once you put your head under the covers or stick your head in the sand and say, I don't want to hear the bad news from my customers, it's going to grow and grow and grow and be this big thing that can knock your brand down and your business. So you want to be on top of that and you want to say, listen, I'm listening to you. I'm going to take it into consideration and do what's best for your audience. Brennan says, they never wanted to change it with all past requests. To me, they're just trying to. Oh, sorry, that's an old. That's an old comment that just popped up. But she's
Mhm.
right. They didn't.
They
They
weren't
didn't care.
sincere. They weren't authentic. And whatever the motivation, my thing is just change it because it's having an impact on everybody who goes down that aisle. Just like, having a team called the Redskins, or because that's synonymous to having a team called the Blackface. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's derogatory. It's
that's
stop
going to
it.
change. Also, the Redskins are going to have to change, just like you were saying about Squaw Valley. You want to,
Yeah, yes.
talk about that.
I mentioned that they're considering changing the name of Squaw Valley. Why are you considering it? You have had this complaint for generations. Stop it. Stop it.
Wow. And see, here in New York, there's a lot of towns and things that are they're not named after the indigenous people, but they're based on the origins because this area was back way back
Was
before the
taken
English got
over. Just tell the truth. It was
before the
taken from
English
the
got here.
Indians.
Before Christopher Columbus got here and brought his smallpox or his whatever he brought here and
It
killed
killed
them.
everybody.
They were here. They were here, and areas of New York, like valleys and things, were called by the indigenous people called them this. So
Mhm.
it was kind of used as the name of this town or this area or whatever. So I
Yes.
don't know if that's problematic or not. I would love to
I
get
don't either
I would love
because
to get Brenda's opinion on that because it was something that was used by them, and so like the name of the town, like one of them is Oswego. I'm trying to remember, but there's a lot, especially upstate New York. There's a lot of areas that are based off indigenous people, but it's not us doing it. It was something they used way back when they ruled this area, where
okay.
this area
I
was there.
don't know, Terry. I don't know where the names come from for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I do know that we are on the what we call the Golden Triangle because three rivers meet there. The Monongahela, the Susquehanna, and the
Yeah.
Ohio River meet there. And so I don't know where these names come from, but we have a lot of um, names that we think
Yeah, so a lot
were.
of them, if you hear something that, you hear the name of a town and it sounds kind of not odd, but it's like, wow, that's kind of, you know,
It sounds indigenous, yes, like
yeah. If it,
Susquehanna
yes, it sounds
and,
indigenous.
and
That's
Allegheny, and yes.
probably because the area was, that's what they called it when they were,
Hmm.
owning the land.
And when it was Fort Pitt, when they took
So,
it,
but my question is, do we have to change all of that also? So I know we have to change Redskins, Squaw Valley,
I don't
Land
know. I
O'Lakes.
think we need to hear from that community because
Yeah,
we do not have
because
that.
here I know upstate in New York they have a lot of casinos. There's a casino upstate that is based off of indigenous. It's on their land. They own it, but it has the naming of it. It belongs to them. So
Mhm.
I'm just saying that we need to change Redskins and Squaw Valley, Land O'Lakes
Tahoe
butter,
is
Land O'Lakes butter on
okay.
the on.
Thank you, Brenna. She's
Mhm.
saying Tahoe is a. I'm not
Right.
sure how
See, that's what I'm saying. So
what's
those
her
things
name.
those words that was used by the indigenous people of that area, and we co-opted it because that's what we say, like Lake Tahoe or this or that.
Yeah.
Should we change those, or are we just sticking to brands, teams, things that are using that imagery, like the Redskins, Squaw Valley, and then the Land O'Lakes butter label? You still have an indigenous woman on it. They removed it,
They removed her. Yeah.
but it used to be there. So I want to know where it's going to go. So that's a good question for everybody to find. But I'm just saying that we're going to continue. This change is going to continue. Why? Because Gen Z is doing it. So anything that's problematic, and it's not just brands, it's everything. Look at it to be changed, and then you're going to have on the other side of that people that are going to be resistant to the change because we've always done it like this, or we've always said that, or they've gotten used to the racist tones of whatever it was because it's so ingrained. So that's what I'm saying. Aunt Jemima, 130 years. That's a long time to be ingrained. Brendan says, when named with collaboration, it is respectful and won't need to be changed. Okay, so that's like I said, a lot of cities and towns here, upstate, especially upstate, are all the origins or indigenous people because that's what they call the area. So I
Hmm.
know one
Hmm.
of the towns, Oswego, New York. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I know that's one that's like, okay, we
Thank
sell.
you, Brenna, for that information when it's named with collaboration. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the thing. But see, you're gonna let that community or that group decide, this is
Exactly.
problematic. So here's an example. So Snapchat for Juneteenth was this well, Juneteenth they're saying it was June 19th, but it's really supposed to be like the weekend, a whole weekend thing. So Snapchat had a filter, and I'm laughing because I'm like, I can't believe that they did this. They had a filter in Snapchat that you had to look at the camera and smile to break the chains of freedom and off the slave. Yeah. So they had to take that down.
Whose
Um
idea was that?
some Okay, so I'm talking about Gen Z, so I'm saying
Woo!
Gen Z millennials because not all of them are woke or what's the word? I want to say
Aware.
they have the sensibilities to be kind to other communities. I'm going to
They
say that.
lack empathy and awareness in some
Yes.
cases.
That's a good way to put it. So, but you learned your lesson, and Snapchat took it down and apologized. But I'm just bringing that up to say that there are still people out there that are going to do things like that.
And I think their message was probably that you can overcome these issues with love.
Yes,
A
but there's
smile
another
represents
way to do
love.
it. But there's another way to do it than to have them hold a filter, put their face in a filter, and have them and tell them to break the chains of slave. No, we're not doing that. Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom, so I'm thinking they could have had a better idea. I know they wanted to celebrate, the join in the celebrations, but
Hmm.
be mindful and careful. Like Darlene said empathy and kindness. Put yourself, and I talked about this last week about empathy. It's going to save you, people. Empathy. So I'm telling you right now, get used to this word, know it, study it, incorporate it, and say, wait a minute, before I say this, before I post this on social media, before I make a filter about another community that I'm not a part of, is it okay? And if you don't know, ask somebody.
Exactly.
Ask 3 people.
Because it might have been received differently had it come from the community.
Well, yes, but see, it came from however they're making the whatever committee or group or whatever
decision making process.
It had to be approved by someone of authority. Okay, so the person of authority is where the bucks should have stopped and said, "Wait a minute, I'm not too sure.
I'm not comfortable.
We're not comfortable because they comfortable, but they can say, wait a minute, I'm not too sure this is bringing the message that we want. So let's ask the people in the community, and let's ask 3 to 5 people and not just one.
Because we all have different experiences within that community.
Yes. So you need a consensus of 3 to 5 people. Ask them, say, hey, what do you think of this?
Oh, you need a focus group?
Well, not even, I mean, they
should be a small focus group.
Well, first of all, they should have people.
Well, I'm sure they do, Terry, but you know what? If it's not a safe conversation within their community, the people sitting at the table may have a different opinion, but they don't feel comfortable voicing it. So they say, just do what you want to do.
Okay, that's a part of the conversations that are happening now. First, we need Black people and people of color, indigenous people at the table. One, because I'm telling you, they're not there in advertising and marketing, because I was there. They're not there. So you have to have them sitting at the table in the conversation. So if they're not there in the conversation, so once this group decides to do whatever they're going to do, they should say, okay, let's run it by this group of 3 to 5 people, because we want to be absolutely certain not to offend.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. You either have the community sitting at the table, or you ask, once it's done, you ask a few people, 3 to 5. You don't want to do one.
Exactly, because you don't know what their experience is. Let's say you have someone sitting at the table who is Black, but their experience is, I went to prep school, I went to Harvard, I studied in Europe.
Yes.
I never really lived in the community. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And so, it looks fine to me.
Right. So that's the kind of that's what I say, ask one. Because the one sitting at the table, like Carolina said, they may have been schooled in private institutions or spent time in Europe or another country, and they have a different experience. So you want to ask that person, yes, but you want to ask maybe 4 other people that have, okay, East Coast, West Coast, this, that, you lived here, I lived there, or, however you want to do it without offending those people. Saying we need a consensus, we need a consortium, we need a group to look at this filter before we release it to the world.
Exactly.
That way you won't have to say, oh, I'm so sorry, we're embarrassed, we didn't mean any harm. So first, do no harm. And I think that's the creed from when you're a physician, when you're a doctor.
Yes, do no harm.
Say that first, do no harm. So adopt that with your business. Corporations, first, do no harm. Think about it before you release it on the world, and you won't get the backlash because it was wrong. Snapchat was wrong.
Yeah,
Snapchat was just wrong to make that filter. I understand that they wanted to be a part of the celebration, but there was many other ways they could have approached this, creating a filter, and they did not do that. So there you have it.
You need some grown-ups in the room. Okay.
Yes. You need some grown-ups. You need some people of different ethnics.
And people with some history. If you haven't been through anything, you really don't know what the impact is on the people who charted the course to begin with.
Yes, you need people with different perspectives. All perspectives, as many as you can get, because the more information you have, the better your decisions will turn out to be. and you'll make less mistakes and
There
won't
you
have to apologize. And you won't have to apologize after the fact. So that's just how it is, business people. I don't know what else to say. It's like these things that we're saying, the corporations don't want to do them when faced with it.
Mm.
And I also titled this on Facebook, remaking the brand, because you need to remake the brand. You need to think about what goes into it going.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. If you need to polish up your brand or change your brand up, and you're trying to overcome some mistakes that you've had in the past, what do you do, Terry?
Well, you need to have empathy first of all, because that's going to be the main thing going forward. Like I said, get comfortable, get used to it. You have to have empathy, because that's going to put you in the right frame of mind to address and create your message for those you're trying to reach, because that's what you're doing as a business. You want to have a brand, like I said earlier, with the snuggle and the toilet paper or the makeup or different things. Remember we were talking right before the pandemic about the young lady that had the black owned brand and Target and
Oh,
all.
the B something.
I forgot what the name of her brand is, but we were
Mhm.
talking about that and how she's just being herself, seeing an opening for a business, putting it out there, and it was well received by the community she was targeting. So she was targeting a community, because in the ads and all the messaging, she was like, because she wanted to be proud that the fact that she created this business where another little black girl could see themselves. So that was the key that they got mad at when she said little black girl. And I'm like, well, she's targeting her audience.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the argument was, well, it should be for everybody. Well, it is, because the packaging there's no African flag, or there's no, you know, colors that associated with the black community on it. There was nothing on the packaging that said black. It's just because she said that in the ad that people were like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, if she hadn't said that, you would have bought the product, right, and liked it. So we
Well,
got
or not. I mean, we bought enough Barbie dolls. Here you go. Here we are.
okay. With
Categorizing this.
categorizing yourself, you need to elaborate on that, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm
You're
not sure I
trying
know
to
what that
say,
means.
not
But
trying to.
when you were talking, this is what came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Empathy.
empathy, input, and review. So
Yes.
you connect with that audience, it, so you can invoke some empathy,
Yes.
ask for their input,
Right.
and then have it reviewed by a group of people from that community.
Yes. Yes.
Because
And so
if they're outside of your business, then they feel safe to say what they want to say. If I'm sitting
right.
at the table and my salary depends on what I say, and I'm the only black person in the room, and y'all are upset and angry, I'm like, hey, it looks great to me.
But see, this is the thing that I want to bring up with this and all the other discussions we had, is that things are changing and will continue to change. There's no constant before, because I always say, January we talked about trends for 2020. That was
Mm-hmm.
a different world and different time. Pandemic disrupted everything, so we need to think about things going forward for our
Mm-hmm.
business. So if you're targeting a certain niche market, don't let people outside of the niche market try to tear you down. You
Yeah.
do what you're doing. Your brand is you. So if you're saying, "Well, I'm doing this because I'm proud of what I did, what I've done as a black woman, and I want other younger girls to see that they can do this too." There's nothing wrong with that at all. The people that had an issue with it, bye. We don't really care.
It's not in their community. It's
She's
not.
not targeting at you. She's
Mm-hmm.
targeted to the audience that she's speaking to, and she has every right to do that. Just like a golfing community, if you're in the golfing business, I always bring up golf because it's something that I don't like. I don't watch that. I could care less. I follow nothing about golf. When I
Mm-hmm.
see it on TV, I turn. But there are people that are interested in that sport.
Love it.
And guess what? If you're a golf enthusiast, then you target other golf enthusiasts. You don't try to convert me because I don't care about that sport. And there's other things that I don't care about. So I don't pay attention to it. But if you're in that business, you're going to target the people that are interested. Okay? That's how it works. Your audience isn't everyone. You're going to
I think that's the thing too.
Yes,
Learning.
your audience isn't everyone, and you shouldn't try to run yourself ragged trying to get every customer. No, you want the right customer for you, your brand, your product, your service. Okay, that's how it works. All right. And so I'm saying to lead with empathy, let that be your guide, let that lead your messaging. If you get responses from the community that you're targeting and they're saying you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong over and over for years, and you don't listen, that's the problem too. So don't have that problem is what I'm saying. So you're going to have empathy, input, review. You're going to listen to your audience. You're going to serve them. You're going to disregard the ones outside of that circle because everybody's not your audience. Everybody's not your customer. Focus on those people that want to buy what you're selling, what you're putting out, who you're trying to attract. It's really simple. You're going to sell
on the right side of history too.
Yeah.
Because it's going to follow your brand.
Yes, the things that you do are going to follow your brand. That's why I said your brand is you. So you have to remake the brand. In this case, Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, Cream of Wheat, Eskimo Pie, Squaw Valley, all of these they have to remake the brand. But we're going to start with empathy. We talked last week. If you missed that video, just put it in the chat. I'll put the link in later, or you can just go to Terry Johnson Online, find me there on Facebook or wherever we are. It's there.
You can find it over on the Biz Chicks website.
Yeah, on the Biz Chick too. It's called Empathy Marketing. So let me know if you want to see that. But that's where you're going to start. And that's what's going to help you remake your brand, because things are so turbulent, upside down. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Another brand will fall tomorrow. Something else will change next week. Something else will change next week. What are you going to do? You're going to have a strategy, a plan in place, and say, I'm going to go from a place of empathy that's going to drive my brand messaging, that's going to drive my advertising and drive my marketing. I'm going to reach the right audience that I want. The target audience is a niche market. It's not everybody. And I'm going to be okay with that and grow out of that. Okay, that's your plan forward. That's how you have to take this day by day, week by week, and adjust accordingly. Okay, so that's my message for today.
Mind your brand.
Yes, remake your brand. You have to.
Great.
Okay.
So with that, have a wonderful day, Brenna. We just want to remind you that we'll be here tomorrow. Is Wednesday. We'll be talking to Coach Karen Fern all the way from Toronto, Canada. She'll be talking about your money for your business. But we want to thank you again, Terry, for putting this on our minds. It's a difficult conversation. It's a touchy conversation, and it's. I don't even know if there's a needle to be threaded because it just is what it is. It's a factual conversation.
And it is what it is, and we have had hard conversations. I think one of the discussions we had was hard conversations, but we've been having them a lot since end of February when this thing started, and we're going to continue to have conversations, and we're going to talk about that here. We're not going to shy away from it because we're coming from a place of empathy. Let's talk about it because it needs to be talked about. You need to know the breakdown. You need to know why, and you need to know what you need to do for your business. How do I take this information and use it? It's going to help me.
Yes, and if you want to see an act of empathy, you need to see what happened with the NASCAR race driver when the other drivers helped him push his car around the track. I thought that was such a great display of empathy and support.
It was. And that's a sign of things to come on a corporate level. Now, everybody in the stands may not agree with what happened or the issue, but the corporation NASCAR is saying we are making changes. And we're not kowtowing to one group or the other. It's a necessary change because the world has changed and we're making the change. And hopefully you'll be with us. And if you're not, well, there's other places you can go and other things you can do. We're not doing this anymore. We're not going to push this under the rug and make a big lump and trip over and go, well, how did that happen? Things are happening. Things are happening and Gen Z
mercy.
is driving it. Things are happening and Gen Z is driving the bus.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, right, guys, I want you to know you can find Terry Terry Johnson online everywhere. Twitter, yep. Periscope, Instagram. Follow her if you're not already following her. And we just want to say thank you again, Terry. And we want to say to all of you who are watching, have a great day. And don't forget to go to the front of your own line. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.